Hillel Nur, Executive Director of UN Watch, has been a mighty force for good in exposing and fighting an unconscionable UN bias against Israel, including at, of all places, the UN Human Rights Council. He underscored that bias late last year, again, when he pointed out that the UN General Assembly condemned Israel for a total of 15 resolutions targeting the Jewish state in 2022, compared to 13 for the rest of the world. He said, and I quote, "The UN's latest assault on Israel with a torrent of one-sided resolutions is surreal." He said, despite the fact that Israel is the Middle East's only democracy, and instead the UN is empowering the region's despots, close quote. Mr. Nur taught international human rights at the Geneva School of Diplomacy and served as vice president of the NGO Special Committee on Human Rights in Geneva. I know that I frequently, and I told him this a moment ago, go to his website. When the UN Human Rights Commission matriculated to the Human Rights Council, there was no change. All this talk of reform, and Israel is still an overwhelming focus, to where's North Korea, where's Iran, where's China, and so many other despotic states. So he does an amazing job, and again, thank you for that leadership. Mr. Nur, thank you.
Chairman Smith, Ranking Member Wild, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify at this hearing. I have come here directly from the United Nations Human Rights Council session underway now in Geneva to report to you about the anti-Semitism and demonization of Israel that is taking place there and in many other parts of the United Nations. Now, the UN Charter guarantees, quote, the equal treatment of nations large and small. Yet if an alien from another planet would visit the United Nations and listen to its debates, read its resolutions, and walk through its halls, it could logically conclude that a principal purpose of the world body is to censure a tiny country called Israel. At the General Assembly, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, in 2022, there was one resolution on Iran, one on North Korea, one on Syria, and 15 on Israel. At the World Health Organization, every year its annual assembly deviates from global public health for a special debate singling out Israel. There is no such focus on Syria, where hospitals are repeatedly bombed by Syrian and Russian forces, nor on North Korea, one of the worst health systems in the world. On the contrary, the WHO recently elected North Korea to its executive board. At the UN's Human Rights Council, most of the world's worst abusers get a free pass. Worse, many abusers sit on the council, including China, Cuba, Qatar, and Pakistan. None of these has ever been censured, and last month, when it came time to appoint a chair of the UN Human Rights Council Social Forum, they decided to appoint the Islamic Republic of Iran. I want to commend all the members of Congress who have written to complain about that. While dictators are honored, a democracy is scapegoated. The only country in the world with a standing agenda item at the Council is not China, which violates the basic human rights of 1.5 billion people, a fifth of humanity, nor is it Iran, which beats, blinds, and poisons women and girls for the crime of protesting. It is Israel. From the Council's creation in 2006 to today, the Council has adopted 2 resolutions on Sudan, 3 on Venezuela, 14 on Iran, 16 on North Korea, 42 on Syria, and 103 on Israel. So more on Israel than on Iran, Syria, and North Korea combined. Now, in May 2021, after Hamas and Islamic Jihad fired thousands of rockets at Israeli civilian centers, the Council met in special session and created a commission of inquiry targeting Israel. It is the first such commission with no end date. It is mandated to report in perpetuity. Its scope includes not only the war of that year, but all events leading up to it and since. They have the unprecedented mandate to examine, quote, root causes of the conflict, including alleged, quote, systematic discrimination based on race. As chair of the inquiry, the Council decided to appoint Navi Pillay, who has signed petitions lobbying governments to, quote, sanction apartheid Israel. She's the objective chair. UN Watch documented her extreme bias in a legal request demanding that she recuse herself. This was completely ignored. Another commissioner is Milun Kotari. I just heard him speak 2 days ago in Geneva. Last summer, he gave an interview where he ranted about, quote, the Jewish lobby, and he questioned Israel's right to be a member of the UN. He was condemned by numerous countries and UN officials for anti-Semitism, yet he remains in his post. In this regard, I want to commend the U.S. ambassador to the Human Rights Council for her superb work, Michelle Taylor, in leading 27 member states this week to object to this commission of inquiry and to call for an end generally to anti-Israel bias at the council. Now, other council officials need to be examined. Last year, the council appointed Francesca Albanese as its, quote, special rapporteur on Palestine. The mandate, in fact, is to investigate only, quote, Israel's violations. UN experts are obliged to be objective. Before she was appointed, we informed the council that Albanese has repeatedly equated Palestinian suffering with the Nazi Holocaust, accused Israel of war crimes, apartheid, and genocide. In a 2014 Facebook post, she wrote that America is, quote, subjugated by the Jewish lobby. The council knew all this and appointed her. 1 year into the post, she has repeatedly legitimized terrorism and addressed a Hamas conference where she said, quote, you have a right to resist. Mr. Chairman, because of our work exposing and fighting this kind of discrimination, we are now being targeted. UN Watch, the Swiss nonprofit association that I direct, was founded in Geneva 30 years ago by former U.S. ambassador and civil rights leader Morris Abram. We have never received funding from any government and are supported solely by charitable donations. Our reports and speeches exposing anti-Israel prejudice, combating dictatorships at the Human Rights Council are seen worldwide. In retaliation, the powerful chief of the Council's Secretariat, Mr. Eric Tistounet, is running a campaign of smear attacks, censorship, and harassment against me and our organization. He tampers with speakers lists to prevent us from taking the floor at the Human Rights Council. According to whistleblower testimony by his former colleague, Emma Riley, she's appeared on BBC and reported in Le Monde, Mr. Tistounet justified his actions by falsely claiming that UN Watch was, quote, an Israeli gongo, which means a fake government-operated NGO. When discussing me and UN Watch with his colleagues, Ms. Riley reports that this chief of the Human Rights Council Secretariat would frequently use anti-Semitic tropes to the effect that we were controlling member states or controlling NGOs behind the scenes. In October, we filed a complaint with the Secretary General of the United Nations, which can be found at unwatch.org/abuse. Based on leaked internal emails and whistleblower testimony, our complaint documents how Mr. Tistounet, in violation of UN rules, systematically orders his staff to manipulate speakers lists to prevent UN Watch from speaking at the Human Rights Council. For example, at last year's June session, 2022, we requested to speak for 36 interactive dialogues. Groups close to Mr. Tistounet received about 15 speaking slots. We received 0. Mr. Tistounet has concocted a fictitious rule, especially for us, demanding to see our speeches in advance, enabling him to draft reprimands, which he would then hand to the chair at the podium to read out against me without any basis. According to leaked internal documents, which he has never disputed, when Mr. Tistounet learned in 2007 that I was the victim of a false arrest due to mistaken identity, he sent out a celebratory email to his 50-member staff at the Human Rights Council. The chief of the Human Rights Council Secretariat instructed his UN employees to secretly go to an internet cafe, to anonymously defame me online, to post the material next to videos of my speeches about the council. Finally, according to leaked emails, Mr. Tistounet told his staff to think of ways to have me physically detained by UN security in order to block me from entering the council chamber in Geneva. Now, we filed a detailed complaint about all of this with Secretary General Guterres in October. United Nations Assistant Secretary General Martha Lopez replied that it would be considered, quote, as per internal procedures. 8 months later, nothing has happened. On the contrary, in the current June-July session of the Council, from which I've just come here, I've just received word from my colleagues in Geneva that the speakers' lists were again manipulated by Mr. Tistounet. Groups that are close to him, like Amnesty International, received 19 speaking slots. We are being prevented from speaking more than once. Mr. Chairman, in summary, because of our work to expose anti-Semitism and other forms of prejudice and injustice at the Human Rights Council, its chief of staff is trying to censor and silence us. He doesn't want the world to know. We appeal to the United States and other countries that care about human rights to demand that this bigoted and corrupt official be suspended and that the Secretary General create an independent investigation as requested in our complaint. In conclusion, UN bodies routinely apply double standards to Israel, not expected of other democracies, singling out the world's only Jewish state for opprobrium in a way that is wholly disproportionate to its deficiencies. UN officials have claimed that the State of Israel is a racist endeavor, drawn comparisons of current Israeli policy to that of the Nazis, or accused Israel of, quote, genocide. Under the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism, it is clear that the actions of numerous UN bodies and officials are anti-Semitic in effect, if not intent. I want to thank this committee for taking up this urgent matter, and especially you, Chairman Smith, for your leadership. I thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Noor. If you could, we'll put together a letter to Gutierrez and others laying all this out. We'll ask the administration as well to double down on their efforts. You know, I'm glad you pointed out the 27 nations. That was a good step in the right direction. But to ostracize you, to smear you personally and the organization is outrageous. And even the seemingly mundane idea of manipulating the speakers list, that becomes all important because you lose your right to speak. And that can't happen. So everything you can give us to about the complaint, and I guarantee, matter of fact, I would say with my colleagues here, we'll make sure. I mean, I did meet with Secretary Gutierrez 2 months ago for a lengthy. I did not bring up your complaint. I didn't know about it. I'm sorry. But I will take it to him in New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.